It's time to talk about the important issues for the natural state. And there's only one place to turn for that. Opportunity Arkansas's Nic Horton. You can find Nic's work at opportunityarkansas.org.
Hey, good Wednesday morning to you. 20 minutes in front of 8 o'clock, and as the big voice guy just said, it is time to speak with Nic Horton, who's hanging out on the American Leak Detection phone line this morning. Nic, welcome back to the show. How you doing this week?
Hey, I'm back. I'm glad to be back. How are you, sir?
We're glad to have you back. I'm doing well this morning. I'm doing good, but then when I woke up, first thing I saw this morning was the new surplus number is out, and this will be the end of the year surplus number as the fiscal year ends at the end of this month. $585.8 million is the number, and so I just wanted to ask you. We knew there was going to be a surplus, but how long is there a waiting period before we can start making noise about another tax cut? Do we need to wait a certain amount of time, or can we start that now?
As far as I'm concerned, the noise starts now.
Okay.
I think our policymakers, state legislators, governor, others need to be hearing from Arkansans as much and as often as possible to continue to show demand and support for finally eliminating our state income tax. And, the haters said, Toby, it couldn't be done. They said we continue to cut our state income tax and the dogs and cats will be sleeping together. The sky will fall. Everything will be bankrupted. We'll have to shut down state government.
Yeah.
And yet what's continuing to happen every single year and every single time that we reduce income taxes is that our economy is growing. That money is being reinvested into the pockets of Arkansas families. They're spending it. So sales tax revenues are going up. And we're continuing to see these surpluses mount and mount and mount. And so the next step really is to say, okay, we've done this for 5, 6, 7 years now. We've seen what can happen when we make gradual progress. Let's put this in state law, and let's give Arkansas taxpayers and families and job creators certainty to say this thing is finally fully going to go away. And it's going to happen over time. It's not going to happen overnight. But as the available revenues and surpluses are there, this money should be automatically returned to the taxpayers and the families of Arkansas, and we need to just take a bold step and put that directly into state law and make that a sure thing.
Let me ask you this, Nic. How does the surplus merge with people who are out there making noise about that our state government is going to go broke because of the LEARNS Act and the EFA accounts? How does When we see that we've got all this extra money, how is it odd for people to be out there saying, "Hey, you're killing our state government money. We're not going to have any money because you're using it all in the EFA accounts"? How does this surplus merge with people who keep saying that publicly?
It's a great question. It's something I ask myself almost every single day. Maybe you should have one of them on your show, Toby, and ask them to answer that, because I see these talking points from Arkansas Teachers Union and all these left-wing groups and special interests that are united against the LEARNS Act and education freedom accounts in particular, saying that this is bankrupting the state and this is they keep saying it's blowing a hole in the state budget. Rex Nelson's had a couple columns recently saying this is crippling the state budget, blowing a hole in the state budget. And the reality is, as we've already outlined here today, we are going to have yet another $500 million plus surplus at the end of this month, and that at some point the numbers just don't add up. The narrative just falls apart when we continue to say, "Oh my gosh, crisis! We're bankrupting the state." And what they're really saying, Toby, I think certainly when it comes to the teachers union and others, is it's not about a lack of money, clearly, because we have a surplus. It's not about a hole in the budget. It's just about the fact that they don't like the program, and every penny that doesn't go to a public school and every penny that doesn't go to the one-size-fits-all option that they foresee, and every penny that doesn't go to a union due and to a public school teacher that's potentially going to become a union member, that's the problem. That's where they see a threat to their business model and the way that they've always done things, is because that money is being spent differently and it's being spent outside of their control, and that's what they don't like.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me when I see these different articles and different public announcements about that, and then say, well, but we've got a surplus, so where's the hole in the budget that's being blown? But logistically speaking, then I'll get off this. I got some other things I want to talk to you about. if there was going to be another tax cut in the near future, is the next time that there's a real opportunity for a tax cut when they have the next session of state government, which I think is the start of next year? Is that or could there be another special session called?
Well, there could certainly be another special session called really at any moment. I mean, the governor is the only person in the state of Arkansas that can do that. The legislature, unlike other states, our legislature can't call themselves into special session, so it would have to come from the governor directly. But yeah, there's nothing to say that couldn't happen or shouldn't happen again. I mean, the fiscal year ends at the end of this month, and we're going to have this nearly $600 million surplus. If I was in charge, I would call another special session between now and the end of the year and give even more money back to the taxpayers of Arkansas.
Yeah.
And even more specifically, let's put it in state law again to say we're going to automatically go to zero. We're going to make tax cuts automatic and certain over time so that we don't have to continue to have special sessions and uncertainty about, gosh, what's happening next? Oh my gosh, we have this big surplus. What are they going to do? Are they going to spend it? Are they going to sock it away in reserves like they've been doing? Are they going to do significant income tax cuts? Are they going to do any income tax cuts at all? Let's get rid of all of those questions and let's just put a stake in the ground and say, no, we're getting rid of it. And here's the formula for how we're going to do it. And we're going to put it in state law. And then if there's a catastrophe, if something happens, God forbid, we have another pandemic or whatever, there will be safeguards. The legislature can always come back and tweak and improve and make accommodations as needed. But we shouldn't be sitting here. We shouldn't be having this conversation, Toby. We shouldn't be sitting here saying, gosh, I wonder what's going to happen. I wonder if they're going to do the right thing. I wonder if they're going to make tax cuts. I wonder if we're going to have to wait till January or maybe April or, God forbid, what happened in 2025 happens again, which is that they just end the session entirely without doing any income tax cuts. And then we have to wait another year or another 18 months. I mean, the uncertainty of this is not good for anyone. It's not good for job creators. It's not good for families. It's not good for our economy. So let's just rip the Band-Aid and let's put it in place and make it certain.
And Opportunity Arkansas has a great website for this that talks about the formula and how you do this. And it's correct me if I'm wrong, payaswegrow.com. Is that correct?
That's right, payaswegrow.com.
Yep, so make sure to check that website out, folks. It has a lot of good information on it. Wanted to switch to a different topic. We had some EBT fraud that was in the news last week, some benefits being stolen from Arkansans. First off, do we know how this fraud happened, this fraud and theft, how this went on, and then what do we do about it moving forward?
Well, we don't know a lot. The state, from what I have seen, the state has not really released much information.
Yeah.
It's certainly extremely unfortunate that this is happening. But I will just say, Toby, I mean, I don't want to kick anybody while they're down here, but none of this should be a surprise.
Yeah.
Like anytime we have welfare programs of this size and this type, they are always susceptible to fraud. In fact, the more money you put into these programs, the more fraud you should expect because you've created a larger pot of money and a larger opportunity for people to come after these programs and to try to fraud them. This is a part of the food stamp program, the summer EBT program, that is, by the way, an optional program. The state of Arkansas did not have to opt into this. We don't have to participate in this. This is an optional thing. But when you look at the food stamp program broadly, this is a program in the state of Arkansas that has a nearly 10% error rate.
Whoa.
A 10% error rate. So that means for every $10 that taxpayers spend on the food stamp program, one of them goes to fraud. And that is unacceptable. But again, it shouldn't be. It's unsurprising that this is continuing to happen because these types of programs are notoriously susceptible to these types of scams. And I hope that I'll give credit where credit's due. It looks like DHS and the governor's administration looks like they're taking this seriously and trying to figure out ways to stop it, communicating with enrollees about resetting their PIN numbers and making sure they're taking all the necessary precautions. But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be a surprise because that's what happens in these types of welfare programs.
Yeah, just had a big conversation earlier this hour with the Attorney General, Tim Griffin, about fraud. He was at that fraud roundtable with the Vice President last week in Washington, D.C. And so, I mean, it at least sounds like the current administration here in Arkansas trying to be proactive about fraud. But as you say, I mean, it's very rampant and it's hard to, it's kind of like playing whack-a-mole in a lot of cases. So it becomes, hard to track and hard to get a handle on. But before we run out of time, Nick, I want to talk a little bit more about the education amendment. And my question this morning, do we have any idea, do they report, like this group that's pushing the education amendment and thinks it's a good idea, even though it's not, do we get updates on how they're doing on the signature gathering and where that is, like if it's going to get to the ballot or not? Do we get any updates on things like that?
Yeah, no, we don't. And it's a great question. This has come up a lot. We've been traveling the state. I was in Jonesboro this week. We're going to be in 3 counties in 3 days next week, talking to Arkansans and making sure they understand the real impact of the so-called Education Rights Amendment of 2026. Yeah. But we really don't. We're sort of kind of flying blind. Now, last week they had a news conference, so to speak, a little Zoom webinar where they talked to some reporters, and they made some comments in that meeting that suggested they were somewhere to a third or halfway. They gave this really broad range of where they stand with signatures, but we don't know exactly where they're at. I will say, and just kind of as a heads up for your listeners, that they have now also announced that they're going to be hiring paid canvassers. So they've got about 30 days left to the signature deadline between now and July 3rd, but they are now hiring paid canvassers at $30 an hour to go out into liquor stores and grocery stores and farmers markets and every corner of the state to try to get signatures. So it'd be tempting maybe to get optimistic and think, okay, well, they're maybe only a third of the way there, but they're also now, they've clearly gotten an injection of cash. We don't know yet where it's come from, but they've clearly raised some support for this now in the last few weeks. And they're going to make a hard push here at the end and try to get this thing on the ballot. And they're going to do it, Toby, as you know, and your listeners probably know. They're going to do it by misleading you and not telling you what this amendment really does. They're going to do it by saying, well, it's just for fairness. Well, it's just for accountability. Well, it's just for fully funding public education, even though there are no funding mechanisms and no cost estimates and not really even any funding for education in the amendment, ironically. So we've done a lot of work. We're going to continue to be very active. You're going to see us out in the news, on this show, obviously, on TV. We're all over the place, and we're going to continue to do that. I will mention as well, we have revamped and really overhauled our website for this. So if I could just throw that in, for arfamilies.com. If folks want to read the amendment, they want to get a one-page description of what they're saying the amendment would do, but what it would actually do. If they want to see the ballot title itself and a marked up version of it with our handwritten notes of, okay, here's what this means, here's what we think this would mean, putting it in really plain English for folks, that's all available now at forarfamilies.com. So this is the most important thing happening in the state of Arkansas right now. It's the most radical amendment that we have ever seen in my lifetime, certainly, and probably ever in the history of Arkansas. So I can't stress the urgency enough of every Arkansan taking 5 minutes and going to forarfamilies.com and read up on what this amendment is really about.
Yeah, no, being informed is obviously the number one thing we could do. So forarfamilies.com. We talked a lot about it last week with Gary Newton here on the show. So and it's a great website. Nick, real quick on the way out, can you tell us the 3 counties you're going to be in, or maybe the 3 locations you're going to be in, talking about this education amendment, just in case we've got listeners in those areas that may want to attend?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll be in Little Rock on Monday. We'll be on Tuesday. We will be in Crawford County, and then on Wednesday we're going to be up in Rogers, Northwest Arkansas area. And so we're hitting all the corners. I was in Jonesboro on Monday night speaking to a group of activists there. And we're going to continue to get out into every corner of the state as we can. Okay, and folks, you can check opportunityarkansas.org and follow along. They'll have information there as well. I would assume on stops and then where you guys will be. So definitely make sure you get out there and get informed. And check out the website. forarfamilies.com is that website. Nick, always appreciate you coming on the show. You're always a wealth of good information for us. We appreciate that. And of course, we'll talk again next week. Well, I'm a wealth of words, at least, if nothing else. So hey, thank you, Toby. You fill us in good. We like that. So, all right. I appreciate y'all. There he goes. He's Nic Horton. He's the CEO and the founder of Opportunity Arkansas. You can find him at opportunityarkansas.org is the main page. And then, of course, you've got the forarfamilies.com is about that education amendment.